USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Business. How can you free up your team from time-consuming office tasks? Amazon Business empowers leaders to not only streamline purchasing, but better support their teams so they can focus on strategy and growth. Free up your teams and focus on your future. Learn more about the technology, insights, and support available at amazonbusiness.com.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to the podcast. Happy Memorial Day. And I'm really happy to have today's guest on, Ikenna. He's a professional speaker based out of London, and he's passionate about the intersection of AI, leadership, human potential, and he loves educating people about tech and AI, helping people grow in their career, and leading leadership training workshops. And we're happy to have him on to discuss his background and expertise. Now, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, briefly introduce yourself and talk to us about what you speak about and how you help people.
Okay. So my name is Ikenna, and I am a professional speaker and software engineer as well. I'm particularly passionate about personal development, professional development, and I host workshops that revolve around leadership and confidence building. So I'm really passionate about the intersect of how human beings and technology interact. And I think we're in a very interesting time today with all of these different things happening with tech and with AI. People need to start reflecting on how this affects us as people and how we can really take advantage of what's happening in the modern day to maximize our personal growth and also the possibilities and path we can take in terms of our career and our profession.
Interesting. And so talk about how you think technology will impact the future of today's youth.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting topic. I think with what's happening today with ChatGPT and with the increase in reliance on technology, I think it can go a variety of different directions. What I'm noticing in my own observation is that we are becoming a bit too reliant on technology. And I think in the sense that is affecting our ability to connect with other people. So I think if people can stay educated and up to date in terms of the effects that such technologies have on us, I think we can mitigate a lot of the negative aspects of that. So I think AI could potentially impact the future in the sense of affecting our social skills and our ability to connect with other people. But at the same time, I think we're in a time where we have so much ability to solve difficult problems with AI. So if we utilize AI to apply it to solve a lot of the existing problems we have, I think we could potentially see positive outcomes. I think we can find ways to connect and interact in different ways. I think you're aware of Facebook's new software called the Metaverse. So it's a software application that Facebook are building that basically is revolutionizing how people can communicate with each other. So personally, I think such an application could pose a lot of risks in terms of people becoming even more reliant. But I think some really interesting things can come out of that development.
Interesting. And so the other question, I'm very curious because a lot of the AI experts and guests on this podcast, they're based here in like San Francisco or New York City or Austin. And so I'm just curious how the culture, the tech culture is in the UK. Is it full of venture capital, or is people like a lot of entrepreneurs? I'm just curious to hear about some of the innovations that the UK is doing.
So in terms of AI innovation in the UK, I'm not all that up to date with that development. But what I can tell you is that the UK is less entrepreneurial than the US. So there's a lot more happening in the US in terms of entrepreneurship and the different applications of AI. Over here, we are picking up AI bit by bit, and it is being talked about. So I think I am quite excited to see what is going to happen in the UK in the coming year in terms of how quickly they start taking all these new AI technologies.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because for a long time, I know that a lot of entrepreneurs, before, for better or worse, before Trump came in, a lot of entrepreneurs were leaving the U.S. and going to the London or going to Dubai or Portugal, Singapore, these other countries, because it was just so hostile to entrepreneurs. So it's interesting to hear your perspective. The other question I have for you is AI you speak about technology. Is AI beneficial or harmful to society?
I think overall AI is beneficial to society because when you think about it, we already have and use AI in many different forms. When it comes to public transport, when it comes to the technologies that we use on our laptops, our phones, a lot of those are powered by artificial intelligence. And I think what's happening now is like a step forward in terms of generative AI. So just like what we have now has made our life much more easier and allowed us to work and communicate in different ways and much more effectively. I think what's happening now will lead to more better and efficient society. But like I mentioned in my previous point, I think though AI is beneficial to us, we need to be aware of the potential challenges that it may pose as we move forward, primarily in the area of communication and how human beings interact with each other. I think it's quite clear with modern technology and also with the recent events where there was a global lockdown. I think we've seen a kind of drift towards people being a bit more isolated and a bit less interactive with others. So I think there is a potential for that trend to continue if we don't stay educated on how this could affect the area of human connection. So
Interesting.
that's what I think.
Switch to Verizon Business and get more from your internet without paying more for your internet. Get LTE Business Internet starting at $39 a month when paired with select business mobile plans. That's unlimited data, and with it, unlimited possibilities. Start saving today with Verizon Business, ranked #1 in small business internet customer satisfaction by J.D. Power. Starting price for 25 megabits per second LTE internet plan with smartphone plan savings, plus taxes, fees, and economic adjustment charge. Terms apply. For J.D. Power 2024 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for this day.
Yeah. The other aspect of human connection and communication revolves around our attention spans. And I think there was can't remember, but because of technology, our attention spans are like really drastically reduced. And so is AI gonna make our attention span shorter? Is it going to cause other problems like ADHD and these types of things? Talk about the impact of AI on this aspect.
So I think that in terms of our attention span, I don't think AI will have a negative effect in that sense because we're already accustomed to using our computers and our mobile phones and swiping through social media. I think a lot of that has already affected us because we've adapted to having things so readily available. But what I do think is that AI is going to make us a bit more reliant on artificial intelligence giving us solutions to very simple problems that we should otherwise be able to get from other people or through our own intelligence. I think a lot of that responsibility will be given to AI, which I don't really think is a good thing. Because as human beings, we're creatures of habit. When we see that, all I need to do is go to this application and ask it this question and it's going to solve all of my problems. I think if we always refer to AI for very simple problems, it's going to become harder for us to solve those problems using our own intelligence.
Interesting. How do you see AI impacting jobs? Because a lot of people, especially here, a lot of people are like white collar jobs they're afraid that the AI is going to take over doctors, lawyers, accountants, these things in the past. How do you think AI will impact jobs?
So I'm sure you've heard people say AI is not going to take our jobs. It's gonna make the whole workforce more efficient. It's going to create new opportunities. But I think a lot of the times they tell us what we want to hear. They don't tell us the whole truth. So personally, I think AI is going to replace jobs because it's already replacing jobs in the sense that companies are seeing value in outsourcing a lot of their work to AI, because when they do that, they save a lot of money. They don't have to expend a lot of financial capital paying employees, when they can just have artificial intelligence software to do all of that. So I don't think it's going to replace every job, so to speak. But what I do think is that a lot of the entry-level positions, a big bulk of those positions are going to be outsourced. And because of that, there's going to be a bit of a struggle for like newer employees to find these entry-level positions. I think it's going to affect middle-level management and upper-level management as much. But I think a lot of the big bulk of entry-level positions will be affected. And obviously, this isn't very good in terms of employment, because we need to have available positions, because every year there's new talent coming into the workforce. There's people graduating every year. So the question arises, what jobs are they going to fill if we're outsourcing all of these positions to AI?
Yeah. And then the question is whether whether jobs are going to be obsolete, where everybody's going to be forced to create their own income, either coaching or speaking, or do things that independent of an employer, like people love self-employed or business owners, entrepreneurs. That's another question as well. And a lot of people, like when the internet, they were saying like the internet's not going to take over jobs. It's going to displace a lot of jobs. And then what's interesting is you said AI is an accelerator and it's going to help people move forward. But what about the people is it going to increase the disparity? Because the people that know how to use AI are just going to basically become the next Mark Zuckerberg and just accumulate and just take it for themselves. Is it going to increase disparity and inequality?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And what I always say is that it's very important for people to stay as up to date with AI as possible, because I believe that as we do move forward, there is going to be a bit of a disparity, because obviously the more people are using AI, the better able they are to use it. So as we move forward, the people that are not using it are going to fall behind. And this is the same with the internet and current technology. People that aren't very savvy with the internet and computers, in a sense, are falling behind. So I think the same thing could potentially happen with AI. So I think it's very important for people to understand what AI is and how they can use it to stay up to date and essentially navigate their way through this new world that we're moving into.
Yeah. Another question I have for you is, how do you see the impact of AI on education? Is a university degree going to be obsolete, or is it still going to be relevant?
I believe that AI is essentially speeding up education. I won't say that degrees will be obsolete, but I'll say it is going to cause a lot of disruption in terms of education and academics, because obviously when you're studying a degree, you have, let's say you're doing a master's degree, you have a year to study. But with the rate that AI is moving now, let's say you do take up a degree and you're studying, during that course, that year that you're studying, a lot of new things, new developments can take place. And a lot of those things can't really be covered in your syllabus because they're being like updated and created in real time. So I think there's going to be a lot of change in terms of education and how people upskill and learn about these things. But I think education is still valid because a lot of the underlying tools and technologies involved with AI are not things that are changing too quickly. Like, for example, the primary programming language used for AI is Python. And Python is always something you can learn on a university degree. You can enroll and learn databases, Python, all the valuable fundamental skills that you can apply to AI. So I think education always has its place.
Yeah, self-education. And like I said, what was really interesting is a university degree has been commoditized here in America. But then there was a recent report saying that the number of people with a college degree is dwindling. And because of the rising cost of education, only the people that can afford it. And then in that sense, a university degree can be like, it becomes more scarce and more valuable from a supply demand standpoint. But then also Elon was talking about how that he doesn't care about a pedigree, and some of the most talented people he hires for skills. And in that sense, what are the most valuable skills to develop in today's market?
Is this in the area of tech and AI or more in general?
Just to stay relevant, like just to have an income and have your be able to sustain a quality of life and not struggle. Obviously, people here, they work for the government for decades and they just got late, just got fired.
Yeah.
So how do you, what are some valuable skills to stay relevant?
As someone that works in the tech field, I can only advocate for tech primarily. I would say the most valuable skills to learn now is software development, data, how data works. Essentially, the main tools that are required to develop applications are very valuable things you can learn. So when I started out as a front-end software developer, so that involved tools like HTML, JavaScript, and all of these languages that allow you to build user interfaces on websites. I think in addition to technical skills, obviously AI and understanding how it works is a very valuable skill to look into. But one thing I'm really noticing now is that as AI becomes more and more advanced, people are relying more on it to do all of the technical stuff. So because a lot of AI automation is taking place, there seems to be a bit of a, let me say, shortage of the more softer skills like teamwork, management, the ability to work in a team and essentially collaborate with other people. So I think moving forward, the ability to collaborate with a team, the ability to lead and potentially manage, I think those are very valuable skills now, especially for less technically inclined people, because not everybody is technically inclined. But I think with where AI is going now, the ability to collaborate with people and lead and get your ideas across, I think those skills can really give you a great advantage in terms of the job market.
Interesting. And one thing that was interesting is you mentioned software coding as a valuable skill. And I was recently listening to a podcast with Mark Zuckerberg, and he was talking about how AI, he hinted that he was creating AIs that can outcode some of the best coders. So is software coding in jeopardy, or what are your thoughts?
I think where we stand now, there's still some, I would say there's still some save time. There's some like time to get into software development and not have to worry. But I think there is a degree of, what's the word, unpredictability in terms of AI. We don't really know how quickly these things are going to start happening. In terms of what Mark Zuckerberg is saying, I think there's a chance it could be a bit of an exaggeration, let me say. Yeah, I don't think jobs are going to be threatened to that degree yet, anyway.
Yeah.
But I guess we have to just watch and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing I'd like to add is I think it's important to not put all your eggs in one basket, but to invest time in developing a broad range of different skill sets.
Yeah.
Not just tech, but also teamwork, communication, management, leadership. I think the more diversified your skill set is, the safer you'll be.
Yeah. Interesting. Another question I have for you is how do you, because a lot of these, how do you eliminate bias? Because a lot of these large language models, they're predicated on certain assumptions, and there's reports that these large language models are racist or discriminatory. What is your thoughts and what is the solution to this problem?
Okay, I see we're going to the more technical side. Yeah, I have heard about biases when it comes to artificial intelligence. And I think a lot of these biases come down to how these models are trained. So obviously in AI, we have what we call LLMs, which stands for large language models. And these models are essentially trained using vast amounts of data. So obviously if there's a bias in the data you're using to train a model, then it's very likely that the model itself will be biased in terms of how it functions and how it generates data. So I think the best way to combat biases is to be indiscriminate with the data we use to train those models. So for example, if we're using a model that can scan people's faces or can identify things in terms of people's appearance, we try and be more diverse with what we present as data rather than only one. For example, one kind of skin color or one kind of ethnicity.
Interesting. And a very interesting conversation. And if people wanted to connect with you and reach out to you, how can they do that?
I am on LinkedIn. So my name is Ikenna Obichukwu, LinkedIn. I have Instagram as well. Yeah, people can reach out to me on these platforms.
Excellent. Thanks so much. And I really enjoyed this conversation about artificial intelligence and the future. And thanks for coming onto the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.